Welcome to the monthly Inspired by Design Presentation Guild webinar. I'm Nolan Hames, and welcome again, Julie Terberg. Julie is the art director for the Presentation Guild and a fellow Microsoft MVP. She's written a bunch of books on presentation and PowerPoint. You, I'm sure, know her. She specializes in creating custom presentations for clients around the globe and is certainly a design expert. So we've got 20 minutes, as always. We try to keep these short and sweet and very focused on topic. But if you have any questions as we go through, please just type them in the questions pane. We'll try to get them answered, and we'll leave a few minutes at the end for any last questions. So thank you all for joining. Before I forget, our next episode is going to be Thursday, December 15th, also at 2 p.m. Look for the invite on that. And now I think I will throw it over to Julie as we head into episode number 5.
Thanks, Nolan, and happy Friday, everyone. Now, last episode, episode 4, we talked about using white space in your presentations, and why it's important in design, and how it can help improve your visuals. And carrying forward on that theme, today we're going to talk about using white space in your photographs. We're going to look at how to choose images with white space, how to crop and edit images to create more white space, and look at a few conventions to create space for text or other content on top of a full frame image. So here's an image, very typical. It has a lot of space already built in the photograph. It has with room for text or graphics or whatnot, room for subtext too. This has a lot of blank space already built in. When you're looking for your images and you know you want to use them full frame, look for images that have this white space built in. Now here's another one. It has an interesting crop, and that dark area next to the sofa there has plenty of room for text. This image, this sample, I showed during episode 4 at the end, and in this case, the blurred image in the blurred background is dark enough that you can include high contrasting white text on top. So when I say look for images with white space, I'm typically talking about searching on stock images, stock image sites, but you can also look for them in your own photography and your company's photography. One of the things I like to do, and here's a tip for you, is that you can add the words copy space to your search terms on stock sites like iStock Photo, and it will return mostly images that have a blank area, and I'll show you that in a minute. Nolan, do you look for copy space in your stock photos?
Absolutely, and unfortunately, it's not as easy. I think, typing the keywords copy space will help. I know in Shutterstock, if you type just copy, that will help sometimes. That is a keyword that they tag images with. Mm-hmm. Now, I believe iStock used to actually have a little checkbox, like in the the search options, where it was a copy space option. You could just it wasn't a keyword. You could just check it on. But they seem to have taken that away, and in fact, I was just tweeting with Shutterstock today, and they said, let us know anything we can do better. And I said, better copy space searching.
Good
and they said
know.
They pass it on. So yeah, it's sometimes required. It's not perfect.
So some of the sites that, what are some of your favorite stock sites, your go-tos for presentation imagery?
I'm a Shutterstock person. I've just been with them for years, and they may not have always the top quality images, but they have a lot, and I'm pretty comfortable, and I love the search. I'll give you a small site that I like a lot. It's called Death to the Stock Photo.
Love them.
It's a small little sort of niche, very curated, very sort of distinctive imagery. Not good for everything, but I like those sort of niche areas.
And if you subscribe to Death to the Stock Photo, you'll get occasional emails with a small collection of similar images. They're really nice to use.
Yeah, there's a lot out there.
Have you heard of Stocksy?
Yeah, you turned me on to Stocksy, and that's a la carte, right?
Stocksy, I believe they may have started some type of subscription model, but the quality of their images is really wonderful, and they're really unique.
And I don't want to make sweeping generalizations, but generally, if you are paying more for imagery, you're gonna get better imagery. So, I
Yeah,
mean, look, Morgue
yes.
File and Dreams Time, they're okay, but when you're
Well,
paying
if
a
you're looking
buck or
for
two,
free and you need something in a pinch, and if you're not looking for something that's extremely specific, there's a couple of free image sites out there that, hey, the quality is great. Pexels, Pixabay, StockSnap, PicJumbo, Unsplash. These are all sites that are linked, I believe, if you go to makerbook.net,
Mhm.
that's a curation site for all types of freebies for designers. Um, Great resources for designers. They're not all free. But these websites, they have some beautiful photography for free. So if you're comping something up and you just need a couple of great images, you can even use them in your designs. Um, Feel free to edit them and do whatever. So,
Yeah, and even that site we were talking about, Death to the Stock Photo, it's a freemium model, so
yeah.
you can get free images every month from them, but if you want the back catalog, that's where you need to
Hmm.
subscribe. And there
Yeah.
are a number of sites like that. So,
Well, let's
yeah.
look and see what the search results turned up for conversation copy space. So these are just a few of the images that came up on iStock Photo. And I've added some blue rectangles here so you can see that each one of these results has a bit of white space that you could consider for adding text or graphics. The composition might have an area that's low contrast or more blurred and less busy than the subject.
Yeah, and I
So
think
what do you,
Julia, as you look in sort of slide sorter or light table mode in these searches, you'll start to really discover, what's a usable image, in presentation, what is just too busy. Like my
yes.
eye just immediately goes to certain images because I know, yep, I'm going to be able to use that.
So what do you do if you need to use an image that's busier? So this image on the screen has a lot going around the subject. He's taking notes, but there's so much going on that I don't really see a natural area for copy space. But if you've got a large enough image, say a couple thousand pixels, for instance, you can dramatically crop that image and get rid of a lot of the noise. You can still see this subject is taking notes, but now there's a nice dark area on the left that you can add a large statement. And if that image is still too high contrast for you, darken it. Reduce the brightness. Add more contrast for your text. Again, we still see that the subject is taking notes. That was the point of this particular image here. But now we have a large area for a headline or a statement.
Julie, did you reduce the contrast of the image overall or
I
just a
did.
portion of it?
I did. That one I reduced the image overall, reduced the brightness right in PowerPoint. Now, here's another one. Typical subject matter. You can see this is a comp from Stocksy. It's got watermarks all over it. Um, there's not a lot of room for text, but we can use blank spaces of images like this to our advantage. Let's use that wall, recrop the image, because we're going to be purchasing a higher resolution image anyway. Now we've got a more interesting composition with plenty of space for text and graphics. It takes the focus, changes it. Now we're looking at the two guys in the composition, and we've got room for graphics and text. Here's another one. Same thing. People talking to each other, conversing, working together. Let's use the floor and change the focus. Now our composition has a much more interesting layout, more dynamic, and we've got plenty of space for what we need.
We've talked about this before, the sort of a la carte versus subscription model,
Mhm.
and I know you purchase a lot of a la carte images, but one of the reasons I like the subscription model is for this reason, this specific reason. I can download a super high-res image at no extra cost, and then I can crop into it. So
You're
that's
right.
it's a nice little added bonus.
A lot of our clients have their own image libraries, and so we're working with a lot of images that the company has had professionally shot. And Those are typically, I work with them at full resolution, scale them, crop them, do whatever I need to, and then obviously do some things with compression to get that PowerPoint size down.
And one thing that I do when clients want to send me their imagery, I always make a point to say, whatever you do, don't down-res it for me,
Right.
because there will be a designer that says, "Oh, it's just presentation, it's just PowerPoint. I'll download it to down-res it to 72 dpi." No, no, no. Let me do that because I may need to crop in, and
I
let me
totally
handle
agree
that.
with you.
You know,
And then when we're zooming in this dramatically, we would end up with a bunch of fuzzy
exactly.
images. So, yes, ask your
You can
clients
always
for high
compress
res.
images. You can always compress images down the road at the
You
end
sure
of your
can.
project. You
With
don't have to
that
do that.
wonderful favorite tool of ours, what's it called, Nolan?
NX Powerlight. By the way, NX Powerlight is having a Black Friday sale. I just got an email about it. So if you don't use it, it's a third-party tool for compressing Microsoft Office documents, and it's so much better than the built-in tools for
Yeah,
PowerPoint.
ignore the built-in tools. It's NX Power Light, and Light is Lite.
Hmm.
You can search for it. They're great people, and they make the best compression tool
Yep.
out there.
Buy it the day after
So,
Thanksgiving.
okay, good, good. So that you said it was 50% off?
I think it's a 50% off sale. I don't know. Go to the website. They're having a
Well worth
sale.
it.
Yeah.
Whatever it costs, it's well worth it. All right, so let's keep moving. Now, here's a common issue. We want to use this image full frame, but there's so much light and dark between the trees and the sky that it's really tough to read the text. So let's add a tried and true graphic convention. Let's add a transparent shape. Doesn't matter what shape this is. It could have been a rectangle, it could have been a triangle, it could have been an arrow. It doesn't matter. Add a shape, make it transparent. In this case, I use the eyedropper tool to pick up one of the nice dark reds in this guy's shoelaces. How about adding a border? Now, again, if you, at the end of episode 4, I talked about this technique to create space. By adding this border over our photograph and putting the text inside of it, it helps to visually separate that picture and the text. And another easy convention. How about adding a full frame transparent rectangle? In this case, it's a white transparency. Now, this effectively tones down the image contrast in your background image, whether it's filled with a white or a light color or a dark color, it doesn't matter. And while you can adjust the brightness, the contrast, and the saturation of any image, whether you're in Photoshop or PowerPoint, sometimes adding a full transparent rectangle is quicker, especially if you're going to keep doing it throughout a series and in a presentation. This is real easy. It also helps to set a mood, if you will. And if you were going to repeat this, say the washout technique to a series of images, they would all have a similar mood and quality to them. And how about this one? Here's a great image. Would love to use it full frame because it's so dramatic, but it's near impossible to read the text on the left-hand side. Super easy tip. Just add a transparent gradient on top. This rectangle is filled with a white transparency. It starts with, 0% transparent on the left and goes to 100% transparent on the right. It simply adds that it pops your text off of the image by toning it back a little bit, and yet we're still not losing losing very much of the image in the background.
Hey, Julie, so that's a great example of something that people might think they had to use Photoshop for to actually change, actually edit the photo. Are there any other techniques about basically things you might a few years ago had to have done in Photoshop that you can actually do direct in PowerPoint?
Actually, you can do a technique with a blur that you can combine an image by making a copy of it, cropping out the subject matter, and adding some soft edges, and blurring a full frame image in the background. You can do that technique right in Photoshop with right in PowerPoint with artistic effects. Rick Brett Schneider has a tutorial on that technique, I believe. I'd have to find out the link to that. I can put it into the member forum. I will find a link to that technique. Other than, you used to have to do that type of work in Photoshop. So blurs are actually very easy in PowerPoint.
That's great. And you can, and it's all non-destructive, right? So you can, slide it back and forth and see how much blur you want.
You can. Just remember that it is going to retain a copy of the original, and it does bloat your file sizes. Any artistic effects you add within the PowerPoint file, it keeps a copy. So while they're non-destructive, it is gonna bloat up your file, especially if you have a bunch of them. So I think after you've gotten everything finished and approved, you may want to lock them down by turning them into images themselves and stop the backwards layering, if you will.
Yeah.
So one last image here. It's a great image. There's plenty of space for text and copy, but the background is just a little bit too busy. So quite simply just adding a rectangle. That is a transparent gradient that goes from the top of the slide probably down to the bottom of the slide, and it's just a black to black transparency. Real easy, helps you to pop your text off and take advantage of the white space in an image without doing anything else. Any other conventions you use, Nolan, to help you with your photographs and text?
Yeah, one thing I do all the time is, especially if a lot of images come down as 4:3 from stock sites, and if I'm doing widescreen, I want to stretch it basically. And if it's the kind of image I can't crop, but I literally want that image to extend out. But with a lot of images, what you can do is you can create a duplicate of it. This will be hard to explain a little bit, but you create a duplicate of it on top of the image, and then you crop to a portion of the image that can be stretched. So for example, if we were looking at this image, I might duplicate this and crop over to just to the left of the shoes, and then I can stretch just that part of the image, because people will see distorted shoes, but they won't really strike them that the wood is getting stretched. Gotcha. So then I can just stretch that over to the edge of the slide, and if I want, I can group and copy and paste a new image or just leave it as is. So that's a way I can you can stretch part of an image without stretching all of it by sort of duping that.
Great tip.
So we had Tony had a great, had a question earlier, or a comment saying that it would be great to have a stock site that kind of specialized or at least spoke to presentation by offering lots and lots of images that had all this copy space on it. And I certainly agree. I think Shutterstock is, for one, and Pixel Bay or something. Those are two. Yeah, those are two places that created add-ins, Microsoft add-ins, where you can search for imagery on their sites, but directly from within PowerPoint. So I think
believe it's Pexels.
Pexels, that sounds right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully they are understanding there's a huge market here, and maybe from those add-ins you'll be able to have that checkbox again or search for specific images.
And I can't say it enough. Almost everyone on this webinar and listening to this recording later has a smartphone with a great camera. Start taking your own library, especially of textures, and even your office, your equipment. If you keep a library of images that you can pull from and draw inspiration from for creating new graphics, new designs, it's so wonderful to have those types of things and know that it came from your eye, your camera, and you've got the full benefit of the, hey, you didn't pay for it, didn't cost you anything, try it out, crop it, recolor it, it's all yours. So
yeah, that's definitely a great tip. So we only have a minute or two left. Do we have any questions, any last questions for Julie while we have her here? Any last comments?
I also want to remind everyone that I am listening, and I would love your ideas for future episodes for Inspired by Design. If you have anything you want to share, log into the presentationguild.org website, and under the Community tab, go to the Member Forum. under the suggestion box, you'll find a folder for Inspired by Design potential topics. So let me know what you want to learn more about or what you'd like to see. I will take all the suggestions into consideration for future.
Okay, it doesn't look like we have any last questions, so I think we're going to sign off. It's 2:20. Again, the next episode is going to be Thursday, December 15th at 2 p.m., and you'll all get an invite on that. Any last words, Julie?
Thanks, everybody. See you in December.
All right, thank you guys. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.